UCF's season-long struggles aside, it's still rivalry week as South Florida comes to town for a Thanksgiving night tilt at Bright House Network Stadium. We're talking about the Bulls with Danny Morales, who's covered the school for the past 2 years for the Skyboat.com, where he serves as sports editor. Danny, thanks for joining us.
It wasn't long ago that the Bulls were heading south in Tampa. Now, Coach Willie Taggart has kind of turned the Bulls around. The Bulls are 7-4 and still in contention to win the American East. What's gone right this season?
Well, to be honest, I mean, if you ask Willie Taggart, what he'll say is that he was able to keep these guys on course and keep them believing. You know, the last 2 years, the first 2 years under him weren't very good, but he was able to keep most of his recruits. I mean, most of the only guys that left was Mike White, who realistically was not a very good quarterback for them, and him leaving actually just opened the door for him being able to start Quint Flowers this year. And that actually might have been a blessing in disguise because Flowers didn't have to look over his shoulder all year. And he's been able to kind of run the offense that Willie Taggart wants to run, which is run heavy. They don't pass too much, but when they do, they get some speedy wide receivers. And they've been able to take advantage of that kind of offense all season.
Well, as you mentioned, the quarterback Bulls' big turnaround has featured a balanced offensive attack. Talk a little bit more about sophomore quarterback Quint Flowers. 18 touchdowns through the air, another 8 on the ground.
Yeah, no, he's definitely it's surprising because those 18 touchdowns actually puts him in the top 5 in school history already for passing touchdowns for a quarterback. Obviously, the program is kind of young. They only have some guys in there like Matt Grophy and BJ Daniels, but he's been able to kind of balance it out and limit his mistakes this season. And the fact that he has a running back like Marlon Mack, who's leading the American in rushing, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have that kind of guy to lean on it. And they do that heavily. I mean, they ran a lot more last weekend against Cincinnati than they did throw the ball, but it helps them kind of just have that safety blanket, and that he's also able to tuck it and run, and it makes defenses have to stay on their toes.
Flowers has a lot of targets. He likes Rodney Adams, who's caught a team-leading 8 touchdowns. Tell us more about the wide receivers.
Well, Rodney Adams is one of his main targets while also being his big play target. I mean, on the very first play from scrimmage on Friday, they connected for a 50-plus yard touchdown 15 seconds into the game. So he likes to hit Rodney Adams on big plays. He has a senior tight end in Sean Price, who he's going to try to hit, especially in the red zone. Sean Price had 2 touchdowns last game, so he's going to hit him. They also got a guy named Chris Barr, who's kind of a speedy guy. They're going to spread the ball around. They're also really good at hitting the backs in the passing game. They usually run 3 backs, Marlon Mack, Tice, and then they also have Ernest Johnson. And usually they'll throw all 3 out there, and all 3 can catch the ball as well as run it. So UCF's going to really have to be on their toes. And we know, the UCF defense has kind of struggled this season, so it'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, UCF's been on its heels more than its toes. The workhorse at running back, Marlon Mack, more than 1,100 yards on the ground, 8 touchdowns, and he's just a sophomore, Danny.
Oh yeah. We were able to see what Marlon Mack did really early in his career. His very first game, granted it was against Western Carolina, I believe. It wasn't, an FCS opponent, but his very first game of his career at USF, he ran for over 200 yards. I mean, the kid set all sorts of records. Despite how bad they were last year, he was one of the bright spots in that offense, and that was as a true freshman. So this year, they've Willie Taggart said he's been able to add muscle. He's just a better runner. Willie Taggart is very high on this kid, and realistically, he could be in that program for all 4 years, play until he's a senior, and he could kind of be one of those key building blocks that's going to help this program get back, hopefully, what the fans want to what they used to be back in 2007, 2010, around there.
The Bulls have picked up some wins lately, the defense limiting Cincinnati and Temple in the last 2 games. What are the strengths of this year's Bulls defense?
The Bulls defense overall has just kind of had an overhaul since last season. I mean, some UCF fans know the USF defensive coordinator ended up coming over here to UCF, so they had to overhaul that. And they kind of go by a new name now. They like to be the Bull Sharks is what they go by, and they're kind of just, in all aspects of the game, they're kind of very balanced. They have a good secondary. They have some guys there, and Dietrich Nichols and stuff like that are able to lock down receivers while also being able to kind of get some interceptions, which is something that they struggled to do the last 2 years. I know they had a season where they didn't get an interception until game 10 or 11, so they're able to get turnovers now. they're able to get a big push up front, and they have linebackers like Augie Sanchez, who's been in the program a few years, who are just able to kind of get to the quarterback and make them make decisions that they're not ready to make yet. And this year, the defense has actually taken advantage of that and been able to cause a lot of turnovers. They caused 6 against Cincinnati, and, everybody was kind of high on Gunnar Kiel going into the season, and a couple of those were interceptions by him.
Well, Danny, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We enjoyed your insight into the Bulls, if we can enjoy anything about the Bulls. So hopefully UCF doesn't get to, look totally stupid this week, and we can finish this year out, I don't know, not getting beat by 50 points or something.
Yeah, hopefully it's a close game there in Thanksgiving, hopefully.
Well, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. How can people find you on Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff?
On Twitter, it's easy. It's Danny_Morales_. There at the end. Danny's DANNY. And realistically, if you're on Facebook, just either follow the Valencia Voice or the Skyboat, and you can see all my stuff. I'm all over there with either UCF, USF, FSU, American Conference, you name it, we got it. So you can find it through me.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.